Hello, case study for EDL 850. To summarize the case, at a rural school, St. Regis School, that is K through 8, there was recently new computers purchased for the computer lab, and the PTA has fundraised and raised enough money to buy new software for those specific computers. It was then brought to Mr. Sample's, the principal's, attention that the library media specialist, Mrs. Lynn, was making copies of the new software to distribute to all of the teachers in the school. And some experienced teachers like Mrs. Williams had no problem with it, but then a new teacher, Mrs. Brandon, who is a new teacher, is aware of the copyright laws and saw something wrong with it and brought it to the principal's attention, and that's where we're at. So the legal issues in this situation are, of course, the copyright law, because software licenses tend to be much more specific in those rights and laws of making copies. So most of the time, school districts are encouraged to develop policies that establish clear perimeters for all the use of technology, including computer software. Some ethical issues would be the principal wants to maintain a status quo of positive relationships and influencing all staff, but he also has the obligation to follow the legal standards and to protect his school from any lawsuits. Also, that the veteran teacher, Mrs. Lynn, is violating the copyright law. So to summarize this problem in one sentence, I have St. Regis has provided new software for the computer lab computers, and the computer lab teacher is making copies of the software to distribute around the school, even though it violates copyright regulations. So to synthesize the facts, I have the people stated that I have mentioned before: Mr. Sample, the principal; Mrs. Lynn, the librarian and media specialist; Mrs. Williams, the experienced third grade teacher who doesn't see anything wrong with the copyright system; and Mrs. Brandon, the new third grade teacher who does have a problem with it. The school holds about 420 students, and there's 2 teachers at each grade level. Then when they get to high school, they are transported on a bus to the city. So the place is the St. Regis School. It's a rural area about 25 miles from a large city. In that town, it's a small town with 2 grocery stores, 1 drugstore, and a few small businesses. So most of the financial support comes from the fundraising efforts. So the program, it's grades K through 8. It is a public school, and usually there's 1 special education teacher for K through 4, and then another one for K through 8. To review and prioritize the information. Could the situation be damaging to stakeholders or the community? Yes, absolutely. A violation of copyright law can result in major fines and lawsuits. What individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Well, the district as a whole will suffer from those violations. It will become very expensive. Have all the relevant stakeholders been consulted? Well, I have the immediate people involved have all been consulted, but the school district and the software owner have not been. Can I learn more about the situation? Well, I can learn more about the software and restrictions on how many download it. So maybe there's something in there that says you can download it more than once. Also, I could research the district for grants to see if there would even be more money to maybe purchase more software. But do I know enough information to make a decision? Yes. So here are my 3 options and the consequences. So for option 1, I could take no action. I could allow the computer lab teacher to continue to make copies of the software and distribute them. But the major consequence that would come from that is a lawsuit from the software company. Option 2, collect copied software to put a stop to the copywriting. Then research on how to either raise enough money or pull money from a grant to purchase software for all those teachers who really want it. Some consequences could be that maybe I wouldn't find the money available to purchase that software. And I could end up creating hostile relationships where the other teachers don't see what I see with the copyright law. Option 3, I could fire the computer lab teacher for illegally downloading software and placing the school in danger. But a major consequence would be I could create hostile relationships in a negative climate. So to evaluate my options, for option 1, the pros would be to maintain positive relationships, I would save the school money, and the teachers would get new software. However, the cons would be software company. Option 2, some pros could be to maintain positive relationships, showing understanding, to keep staff happy while following correct regulations, and to save the district from a lawsuit. Some cons could be that I might create hostile relationships because they would have to be patient while I look for the money in that situation. Option 3, a pro would be I would save the district from a lawsuit, but it would create major cons of creating the hostile relationships in a negative climate and lose the trust and respect of a lot of teachers. I think, in my opinion, the best option would be option 2, where I would collect the software and put a stop to the copywriting, but still try to find a solution where I can research on if there is a way to raise enough money so that I can provide that software for all the teachers. So how can your decision be implemented with the greatest care and attention to the concerns of all stakeholders? I would absolutely be protecting the district from a lawsuit. I'd be following the software regulations and maintaining a positive culture while displaying beliefs in the following laws. So I'd be showing the teachers that I don't think copywriting is okay. Have all stakeholders been consulted? Well, if this situation is taken care of quickly, then we wouldn't need to contact the software owners. Implementing my decision. Well, first, for my path, I would have to have a discussion with Mrs. Lynn about the consequences that occur if we allowed the illegal distributing to happen and what we could do instead. 2, I would discuss the circumstances with my school and what we're going to do about it. I would also spend a lot of time teaching my staff about the consequences of copyright and bring examples in of what has happened to schools in the past. I think creating that knowledge will help them to understand my decision. I would also hold a discussion to see if there are any ideas from my teachers to raise money so that they can also be a part of it. And then I would also take the time to bring up my request to the district to see if there is any way, any money anywhere that I can purchase the software. So thinking about what may happen, Mrs. Lynn could be understanding and collect all the CDs while no longer creating more. Or Mrs. Lynn could get upset and make the situation a big deal, creating hostility in the environment. Sometimes other teachers could also become upset, resulting in a negative climate. The software program could find out before the situation is resolved and create a lawsuit against the district. Or there could be no way to get money to purchase enough software for the whole school, so then it could result in kind of a negative there. So identifying who needs to know. The staff would all need to be informed of the software being distributed and the copyright laws in case it gets into their hands so they know how to handle it. It may also be important to have a discussion with the superintendent in case the software company approaches the situation at all. Would I be able to deal with my own, or deal with the persons involved on my own? Yes, I would be able to deal with Mrs. Lynn directly before the situation escalated. To warn and not threaten, I would start by informing Mrs. Lynn and the school staff about the logical consequences of what could happen if the situation is not resolved. To bring more knowledge to my staff for now and for the future and what could happen later. So if that situation does not go as planned and I need a plan B, well, if Mrs. Lynn disobeys and continues to make copies illegally and distribute them, I would need to inform her that she is putting the whole school in danger by making this choice. So I would tell her that I wouldn't be able to allow her to continue to work at my school if she's willing to continue to make those poor decisions. It's my job as principal to take control over those tough situations, and if that concludes with letting someone go to ensure our school is safe, then I would need to make that choice and stand by my beliefs. And that's it. Thanks.